unpack all of this with Michael Zeldin. He's a former federal prosecutor and the host of the podcast That Said with Michael Zeldin. Thanks for joining us on the News Hour. So what is the difference between these charges Trump is facing in Georgia and the 3 other federal charges he's been indicted on this year?
The Georgia case is the most sweeping of the cases. It is a case that charges the president and many others, 19 altogether, of entertaining a racketeering, influence, corrupt organization, meaning they ran essentially a criminal syndicate, the purpose of which was to overturn the duly elected election of President Biden. And they did so by various means, including breaching security at voting stations, by creating false electors, making false representations to the government that Trump had won, by lying before legislative bodies. And so it is the most sweeping, whereas the others are much more targeted. New York is about criminal business record entries. Florida is about failure to return national defense documents. And January 6th, which has some overlap with Georgia, also only charges Donald Trump alone, whereas the Georgia one travels 18 people plus Trump.
So, Michael, what do you think Trump's defense is going to be in this particular case in Georgia?
I think it's going to be similar in most cases, which is I had no criminal intent in doing all of this behavior. What I was doing was lawful. As President of the United States, I can inquire about allegations of fraud in my election, and that I did so with the intent only of getting to the bottom of whether there was fraud without any effort to undertake criminal activities. Plus, what I was saying about this election was covered by my First Amendment freedom of speech rights, and to the extent that I acted in a way that prosecutors think was illegal, I did so because my lawyers told me it was legal. So defense on 3 fronts: no criminal intent, First Amendment protection, reliance on the advice of counsel.
So the district attorney charging Trump in Georgia is Fani Willis. She's been quoted in the media saying, if you come into my community and you commit a crime, you deserve to be held responsible. How strong do you think her case is against the former president, given also now what's happened just in the last hour or so, this investigation by House Republicans?
Well, I think she has a solid case. All cases have to be tried in a courtroom. Remember, you can get an indictment before a grand jury by arguing only probable cause, more reason than less that there is a crime that has been committed. But in a courtroom, you have to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt, a much more strict standard. So we'll see whether she can meet that beyond a reasonable doubt standard. But I think she has a pretty solid case of election interference, and all she needs to do is prove 2 or more of the allegations in her indictment, of which there are about 160, and she can obtain a conviction. So we'll see how it plays out in the courtroom. He now has a new lawyer, Trump that is, who is a well-regarded lawyer. So it'll be a trial. This is not going to be a slam dunk case by any means.
And it'll be certainly one that the entire world will be keeping a very close eye on. Michael Zeldin, good to get your insight into all of that. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.